Can you tell me how you decided to get onto this subject? Because it's a departure for you guys from your last movie, Boys of Baraka, and I guess maybe it'll even throw some people for a loop who might be expecting to see more of the same thing.
Well, this is a radically different movie than The Boys of Baraka, which we're happy that it's radically different. It does involve children, but the genesis of the idea actually did come from our last film, The Boys of Baraka, because there was a child preacher, a Black Baptist child preacher, in our last film named Devon Brown. And we actually started doing research on child preachers, just out of curiosity, because we were so impressed with Devon. And while we never found a school or any sort of academy for child preachers, we did run across this phenomenon of a certain sect of evangelicals who are, quote-unquote, training up their children to be healers and prophets and political leaders. So we were absolutely riveted when we came across this segment of evangelicalism, and immediately knew that it was going to be our next film when we found Becky Fisher's Summer Camp.
And how did your view of your subject sort of change when you initially found the camp and then once you actually began to know these people? Because I'd imagine your perspective changed.
Our perspective definitely changed. I mean, neither one of us had a lot of, didn't have any relationships and knew very many evangelical Christians. We lived in New York City, and this is sort of the capital of secularism probably in the world. So to be honest, I did not have a clear-cut opinion at all. I didn't know very much about it. I didn't really know what it meant to be a born-again Christian, and I'd heard these phrases, of course, our president's a born-again Christian, and you know, I had heard that before, but I didn't know what it meant. So we almost started off as a blank slate, and then became very intimate with people that are extremely, you know, have dedicated their entire life to a lifestyle that focuses on God and focuses on Jesus, and we really learned we learned about evangelicalism through them. So it was more about, it wasn't so much that it changed, I think it sort of emerged, our feelings and our opinions.
And what's the reaction so far been to the documentary? Are you surprised by the way audiences are reacting to the film?
Well, this is a kind of film, it asks a lot of an audience in a good way. I mean, I think the audience, as we looked around at our world premiere a couple nights ago, there was such a wide range of emotions. There was this wave of emotion that sort of peaked and crested over the hour and a half. And I think, truthfully, when the lights came up, people were startled. They were very provoked. And they sort of needed to sort of get their wits about them and think a little bit before they started asking questions. It's the kind of movie where I'm sorry I can't sort of go home with the audience and then hang out with them for breakfast the next day and hear what they're saying as they're making their eggs, because we get phone calls and emails of people who've seen rough cuts and versions of the film days later that they're still thinking about it. So it's one of those kind of movies. So the audience just seems a little bit overwhelmed at the end of the film, which is it's exciting. It's very different than The Boys of Baraka, where everybody was like, "What happened to Richard?" And you know, they knew exactly what they wanted to know. This is the kind of movie where it takes a little time to process. So we'll have to see.